Employees that meet me today see me as a mature woman. They see me typically in business clothes, sitting at the end of a boardroom table. They don't know Lynne, and they don't know what Lynne has done in the last 30 years. They weren't there on a Friday night when you sent out your invoices through mail. You licked envelopes every night till midnight on month end. We put up racking. I've worked in the saw shops. When we transitioned between employees, I filled in those spots.
When they picture Lynne, they picture someone sitting at the end of the boardroom table, pounding their fist and asking for results, but in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth.
I wouldn't say she was trying to prove it to anyone. I just think that she's an entrepreneur. That's just what she does.
I don't know what motivated her. I truly don't.
Successful business people, I feel, they understand every facet of the business. So they're able to do every facet. They don't necessarily do it, but they could do it.
When she gets an idea, or when she sees the possibility of expansion, or when something is able to be improved, she just improves it. It's a gut feeling for her.
But business is drudgery. There's a tremendous amount of just repetition and working, doing the menial jobs that aren't glamorous. That all has to be done by somebody. And it's a role that I've played on and off for many years.
But she's always been that person. Even before she joined the workforce after raising 3 children, she was the head of the synchronized swimming division that my sister was in.
Lynne's at heart a true visionary, and working with Lynne, sometimes it's difficult to see where she's going 5 years down the road, and you can question what she's planning on doing, but you realize 2 or 3 years later that she's been working on it for a few years and is a few steps ahead of the rest of us.
There's a lot of moving parts in this story, and everything has to do with family.
Her brother went one direction, she went one direction, and there was a lot of family feelings involved. Lynne has dedicated herself to making sure that this family business does not do that.
Every single person that owns a family business has the same story. We have a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, and the business. The business is always the neediest child of all, and everybody is caught up in that business, no matter what your role is, whether you work in the business or you don't. I am definitely my father's daughter, there's no question. Personality, a lot of similarities. I see myself in him in every way, shape or form. My dad's business was a mill workshop, Mooshaw Sash and Door. Sash is a window sash for those young people in the audience that wouldn't remember that. So when you take off your storm windows in the old style houses, that's a storm sash. My dad was very old school. He only had a grade 8 education, but his penmanship was amazing. His attention to detail was amazing. And he went to the library, he and my Uncle Raleigh, and took a book out on how to build windows because they didn't have any customers, so they had been knocking door to door. And the lady said, sure, if you want to replace my windows. So that's what they did. They went and got a book and built the windows to suit this lady's needs. They were very successful as a partnership. And in the years after I was born, my mom also worked there as the accountant bookkeeper, as did my aunt. Every day after school, we went to the business. On weekends, that was our playground. We played go-kart races and hide and seek and all those other fun things. That was just life. Everything, of course, back in those days was woodworking because that was the material. There was no PVC, plastics, etc. My dad said to me at the very end of his working career, I'm not upset about retiring because I don't like the way the world has gone. Relationships were everything when he was doing business. It wasn't the internet days, it wasn't social media. And it didn't matter if you were a penny more money than the other guy. People recognized the level of service that you provided and the product quality that you provided.
West 4, when we had to rebrand in 2017, we focused on who we were and what we offered. And we realized that we were 4 businesses operating out of 4 cities, selling into 4 provinces. And so the name West 4 was born. West 4 is comprised of Madero, Penner Doors and Harbor, Security Building Supplies, and then we've got West4 Distribution, which is our sleeping back-end company that sells across all of Canada. Fast forward 3 or 4 years, and we've added on another business. We've added on 2 more provinces.
The 3 distribution hubs that we currently have are in Winnipeg, Saskatoon, and Calgary. But our clientele extend all the way into Western Ontario out to Vancouver Island. And we're shipping products right across Western Canada through these DCs.
So Lynne, have you actually seen the new West4 portal for the test site?
No, where are we at?
Yeah, we actually got the test site going.
I'm hoping to hear today some good news on timelines. Okay, so moving on from this then. So you and Kevin are just going to keep us in the loop. When's our
So
next
today we're meeting with Nicholas, West4's network engineer, to discuss a project that we began about 2.5 years ago, which is a major overhaul of our paper flow, our processes, our computer systems, you name it.
In today's society, in today's world, everybody's using online shopping and the processes are much quicker. You've got to be able to turn orders in hours and minutes, not days. On both the packing and the pick, we're printing redundant lines.
And so this will bring West4 up to the level of those multinational competitors with live pricing, quick service, and quick shipments.
It's going to be the same thing when we brought the software over and we did our master timeline.
Yes.
We'll just do it again.
Okay.
But this time round, we'll look at every variable.
Yeah,
Step by step by step, we'll get there.
we're getting there.
We're in Security Building Supplies today. Lynn and I are going to do a walk around. We're going to go visit Ken up in his office. It's always exciting when we get Lynn into the store. She always has a little different view on things, and she brings a positive, inspiring way of saying, no, move that, no, let's focus on here, and it's fun. You know, that's the little time in the day that you get to play.
I left Moose Jaw to go to university in Edmonton. I took business administration, majored in marketing and statistics. From that became my love for marketing, and it's definitely a passion I have in all things business. Oh, it's looking good, Mark.
Yeah.
I really like it, yeah.
You know, we're getting our spaces together quite good. It's a good talking piece.
We are missing the decals on the species. When I was a stay-at-home mom, you know, you were involved in a lot of things, and even back then it comes across in my personality that I was always engaged with the children's activities, and when I went back to work, I took a hiatus from that because I can't have a family, now grandkids, work 80 hours a week and still have too much of a leisure life. So you're not going to like this conversation, but I'm going to push hard for patio doors.
Growing up, shop talk was natural. It was part of every conversation. With them running a business together, there was times where that was all we would talk about. Mom was just learning her role in the business, so she would come home and they would have a lot of conversations. Ken would offer advice and she would use that advice. But as she's developed, as she's grown, I often wonder if sometimes she gives him advice.
If we're in a group of more than just the 4 of us, and the men are talking about something and she hears something, we're talking about business, she automatically comes over and gets involved in the conversation because, you know, she's so interested in learning. She wants to hear what other people have to say.
You have to take that initiative to teach yourself your product mix. So next on my project board, Mark, is the 2022 revision of the Artisan program.
Okay.
I am definitely an individual that likes to be organized. I have a tendency to come across as bossy because I do want people to plan ahead and think things through. So see, that one has the hardware over there.
Okay, yeah.
I'm very, very good at that. Well, this is busier than I like it, but I also understand that it's working.
That's what Jay's saying. He wants us to tidy up, but I like the after sales. Makes people always play with this while they're waiting for the till.
I've always been a competitive person. You just have to be competitive to succeed, whether it's having the best product offering, whether it's closing a sale, or it's being the best on the golf course. I just understand that on the golf course, I'm not ever going to be the best because I don't put the time in. So you have to be realistic in your expectations. But I still want to win at crib every time I play my husband. Very successful business people usually are the face of their company. So I'm very happy now that I have Mark and Jay moving forward in the business, becoming my partners and being the face of the business. It's a nice transition for us.
You definitely talk to a sibling or a parent differently than you would talk to a professional coworker.
Why do I call Lynne Lynn? Having her being my mother, you couldn't walk to the front office as an 18-year-old boy and say, "Hey, Mom, do you have the paperwork for that truck?"
You guys did a good job.
Lynn and I will often attend trade shows together, and her being the CEO and owner of the business will walk through various booths. And it's funny because our managers, typically male, get approached immediately to sell to them or to support them or answer any questions. And Lynn's often viewed as the wife of one of our managers, when in reality, she's the owner and she's the CEO. And it's something that I've watched her play to her advantage many, many times, because she'll ask very personal questions and dive in for a little more detail, and people aren't scared to share it because they don't think that she's relevant. They don't think that she's important. And then they often end up putting their foot in their mouth when they realize that she's the person that they should have been talking to the whole time.
I get asked a lot about being a female in a male-dominated workplace. And I can't answer that question because it's all I've ever known. There have been a lot of situations where I have been the only woman in a room, and I can't speak for the men to know how they felt. If they felt that they would rather be talking to their equal, as in another man, or if they were very comfortable with what was happening, the situation at hand. And Bob told us this morning that the wood's still climbing. It's not tapering at all. So he's anticipating it'll be at least September before we see any softening on that front.
And you have to know your stuff. I mean, you don't try to know anybody. You have to know your stuff. And Lynn knows her stuff.
But there's no siliconing going in this area.
Yes, you can silicone this here. Absolutely.
Oh, but you don't want to.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
When people make comments about her gender, she just kind of lets it roll off. There was one time she was telling me she was working in the showroom and a man came in and asked to speak to her boss. He was very angry. And she, "Can I help you, sir?" No, I want to speak to the boss. And after a few minutes, she said, "Okay." So she took him over to the sales desk and introduced him to one of the sales associates. And, he got all riled up and he's like, "I want to speak to the boss." And he looks over, he's like, "She is the boss."
The first thing I'm noticing is this gasket here. So is this a prototype from
This
them?
is a prototype piece, and we noticed that as well too. So we're going to make a call to the factory and see if that's normal.
I have made a very strong point in my whole career to make sure that I was knowledgeable in what I was doing. And as long as you have that knowledge and the confidence, it doesn't matter if you're male or female.
As West 4 Group of companies really got a foot in the marketplace, some of the big obstacles that we had to endure were being the little guys, not getting the A numbers working with new vendors. We've always had this challenge against us where we weren't the guys.
So Mark started with the company as my landscaper cutting grass every week, and he migrated into doing a special project in the saw shop. Then he migrated to helping the flooring guy lay tile. And that's, again, just how we roll as a family. You do a little bit of everything, and wherever it leads, you go.
One of the first lessons that Lynn gave me was do not speak in the big meetings. And I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean? Aren't they expecting me to say anything?" And she goes, "No, the rookie doesn't talk. Just learn and ask questions after." And as I now take on these meetings, I look at my sales force, my operating managers, my sales management, and I say the same thing to them. Pick and choose when you speak, and speak from the heart and know what you're saying. And that's truly the story of Jay and I. We didn't get the job, we became the job.
Years and years ago, I started my very first brochure, and I wrote the content, sent it off. They brought it back. Of course, they don't know what a door from a doorknob is, and that's no insult. That's just reality. So we had to rewrite it and then send it back. So I decided to change things up a little bit.
I was 16 and she sat me down and said, "We're gonna build a brochure, so figure out every tool you need to until we get this thing done." After what was probably painstakingly slow for her and took me a couple of months, we had our first 8.5 by 11 single page handout that we were able to hand out and advertise our first ever mass manufactured door system.
The process is I do things in Excel, which is very old school, old-fashioned. But Jocelyn can read my mind now, so it's become a great team. What I send to her is, well, in this case, it was 100 and some pages, 140 pages, and then a lot of pink blobs that say, make this beautiful, and Jocelyn does. In 2011, we were a little complacent, I think, with our programs that we currently had in the marketplace. And we went to a major customer in the fall of that year to do our annual program. But a new kid on the block came along and marched into those meetings and took the business. It was $1 million hit that we incurred, but they did a better selling job than we did. From that, I turned the program completely on its head, developed a couple new door lines, added new marketing, new packaging, new components, and that was a game changer for us. So yes, from adversity can come something much better. From there, it was take it to the next step, take it to the next step.
We felt that we wanted to deliver a product that worked in Manitoba, that worked in Saskatchewan, that worked in Alberta. And what was currently available in the marketplace was a California design door. The company, Nanya, sat down with us and said, what would you like? And for a few years there, we came up with a bunch of different designs, but really focused on the internal structure to allow that maintenance-free product that can handle our winters and our extreme temperature change. And that was a business relationship that a lot of other vendors didn't ask. They gave you a book and said, what do you want to buy? This company said, what should we make? And that really took Madero to the next level.
Fast forward 10 years, and now I think we've become the company that some of the smaller guys are trying to take down.
People want to crush us. They don't want us around. We're annoying to them.
That's what it is. To gain a customer, you have to steal a customer because there's only so many customers out there.
So does it bother me? No, that's the business model. The business model is pissing off the big guy.
So as you know, in Calgary, we're at capacity. So this is a proposal that I've sent through, and it would give us about 12 functional workspaces and then 2 more executive offices.
Is that a functioning counter space on that back section?
It is, yeah, very similar to our accounting and finance offices.
Okay. Being involved in your business means being there 7 days a week and watching what's going on, being in the trenches.
You know, it's like a soldier going to war. You need to rely on the person behind you. And that is the relationship between a wholesaler and a vendor. And Lynne prides herself on that.
Okay, easy change, but we wanted just to get a little different way of processing your orders. Very simple change. For 8 years, I sat on a board, and the common refrain amongst the men were, if it's not broken, don't fix it, don't change it. And I've never been of that mindset. But with Pat now being in charge of the OTC counter, he also needs better analytics than we've been getting.
Ken ran Saskatoon and Regina and did a very good job at it for many years. But it was an old school business philosophy. She got it up on the internet, allowed a story to be told with pictures, gave customers the confidence to deal with a locally owned shop compared to the big box store.
We built a beautiful new building a few years ago, and I have an office in it, but I haven't actually ever sat in that office yet. I'm still sitting in the old building because I'm in the trenches there.
She embeds herself into problems that she finds throughout the company, and she'll go in and she'll sit right with the customer service team, and she'll sit right with manufacturing scheduling team, and she tries to perfect a situation or perfect a system and work with the team until that operation is running as smooth as possible, and then she moves on to the next. But very rarely is she found actually in her own office working on her own stuff. It's pretty miraculous.
Lynne is direct. She asks direct questions. She expects direct answers. You know, if you come with a suggestion, she will listen. She might tell you you're full of it. And that doesn't mean no. It might mean you got to do a better job of convincing me.
Okay, so I like A, I like C, I like B. I'd rather have D look like B and not have E, if we can get away with it.
In the past in our manufacturing world, we had a lot of manually driven processes, and Lynne saw a need for a label that A, bettered the customer experience in the store, set us apart from our competitor, and gave the customer the information that they needed. But unlike going and buying a 65-inch TV, they're not all the same. We've got a different swing, a different size, a different height. You know, every 2 doors changes a shape or a size. So we had to come up with a label that could generate automatically out of our computer system that addressed all the shape, size, color, and swing needs, including a full 300 DPI color image printed directly onto the label, which we thought was very commonplace in the industry and learned very quickly that it wasn't.
So the label outlines everything that's on the door, with the blue identifying steel doors and the green identifying the fiberglass doors and the label. It's been a game changer for us. When is your last work day?
June 28th.
Okay, I think that I should take the kids on that little mini summer trip again without you.
I would love that.
Would you guys like that?
Do you guys want to go again with Nan for a couple of days without Mom?
Sure, where?
Should we try Moose Jaw again?
Heck yeah.
Every grandparent knows how delightful it is to spend time with their grandchildren. And we're at an age now where when we're not working, we want to be with the kids. We want to be with our grandkids. Financially, we started from scratch, but there was a business there. And it's keeping the business alive and growing. That is the difficult part. And it was sad how things ended at the end. In 2004, when our businesses were struggling, and they had been struggling for a few years, Ken and I at that point made the decision to buy my siblings out and take over ownership of the company. People asked then why we didn't just close and walk away. We had signed personal guarantees. Both of our jobs were connected to the family business. But it was more than that. It's always been more than that. We've been in this business since we were little kids, playing hide and seek in that shop floor. And it just doesn't get out of your blood. It's just there. It's the family. It's the other kid that we have, that very needy child. Third cup of sugar. Okay, sweet cheeks. We're gonna fake this till we make it.
She does not overreact. She does not panic. She is always level-headed. So even in times where stress would be high, she is calm and she is collected and she takes the time to think it through.
That's a teaspoon?
Teaspoon?
1.5.
Just 1/2. For my father, when my brother was born, it was just written in the clouds that he was going to take over the business, which he did for many, many years. My brother kept one segment of the business and my sister and I took the other. So we took the 2 lumber yards and Sasko products. So Ken and I bought out my sister and that's when I became the CEO. So we did have a lot of family strife back in those years because it's a situation where there was a thriving business until it wasn't. In this particular case, Moose Jaw was hurting because there wasn't the leadership, the focused leadership it needed. The bank stepped in because as family members we couldn't. It was just too difficult for my parents to recognize that there was a problem. Who wants to admit that? So the bank stepped in. We had outside consulting as mandated by the bank. And my brother basically said, I want to separate the businesses. I want to do what I can do successfully. And he didn't feel that we could carry on as partners any longer.
When the divide happened with the 2 companies, my grandma very much viewed my mom as the fallout. She took my uncle's side.
I was extremely close to my family, very close. We spent every holiday together, I talked to my mom on the phone every other night. But through that time, she made a personal decision. She chose to support my brother and basically blame, really, there's no other word to put it, she blamed me on the demise of the businesses.
As things started breaking down at the international level that he was working in, you could see that strain on Lynne, that she wanted that relationship with her brother, but the business side was getting difficult.
And I think it's made Lynne look at everything through a worst case scenario lens, which I myself might not have been as prepared for a situation as she came, knowing that sometimes the worst case scenario does happen and difficult things do come up and sleepless nights will happen. And if you're prepared for them before you get to that situation, you can go straight through.
So it went from having daily phone calls to, I don't care if I ever talk to you again. And that's tough. It's tough on everybody. So my kids watched that and they heard it every night. I mean, every time I went to Moose Jaw to a meeting and came home, they would hear Ken and I rehash it for days after. 50 years ago, my mother gifted it to my dad for Christmas that year. So it hung in his office from 1971 until he retired. And he said to me, "Oh, you may as well have this picture because you're the only one that still has an office in this company." It wasn't exactly the heartfelt moment that he could have said it much nicer, but that was my dad. That was my dad. My brother's business did not make it, and it was a very difficult time. On November 20th, on my dad's 80th birthday, he sat in the parking lot across the street and watched the bankruptcy sale of his business. Stuff. I can't either. I mean, just, anyway.
With our family and running a business as a family, a major concern for us because of the history that we've had is the relationship that we hold with one another. It's a conversation every Christmas, it's a conversation every big family meeting. How's the family doing? Are we getting along? Are we friends? Are we spending time outside of work? And we've all worked so hard on that it's become effortless.
I don't see her on the job site or at work. I see Lynne, like I see my mom. So when we come in, she's always smiles, hugs. Like even today when we walked in, you know, she's excited to see the grandkids. They jump up in her arms. She's just welcoming.
Family business is tough, but you get to also celebrate the wins with people you love.
And my brother and business partner is my best friend. He's someone who I go on every holiday with. I'm extremely close to my sister, and we have family dinner every Sunday. And a lot of that has come from the hardship that Lynne and Ken faced, and it's really defined who we are today as a family.
The emotional toll family business can take is, yeah, you have to live it to appreciate it.
She picked up the pieces after that and just, you know, ran with it.
She did an amazing job of rebuilding it from when she took it over.
And her vision through that whole 15-year period of erecting 6 giant buildings, taking a staff of 40 to 180, was truly that vision of her knowing how to develop a brand against international players. And it was a rough road. You know, their names are at the hockey rinks. Our name's on a catalog that we printed in-house, that Lynne and Jay Fafard designed.
My grandma did very much struggle with that. Having a female in business is tricky. She would, you know, drive the trucks and she would fill sales orders, but she was never viewed as the one that would necessarily take over the company. But Lynne not only surpassed their expectations, she went on to create, you know, a very good legacy for herself. She's extremely she's successful in what she does. And that, I say, was overlooked.
When one asks how you define business success, I don't think you can just look at the bottom line. I don't think you can just look at revenues. I think you have to analyze what you are as a person and what culture have you built within your company.
Sales and marketing, customer service.
Today, we have a group of 18 managers at our boardroom table. When they come into the meeting, they are wearing 2 hats. One, they're representing their day job, and secondly, they come in as consultants.
Lynne is very passionate about the business. She wants to see the success of the company, but she also wants to see the success of her management team and also all of her team members.
So when I sit back and I think, was I successful? How do I compare to a different business? Do my vendors have high praise for us? Because that's extremely important. Do our customers respect us? Do the staff want to come to work every morning and for the most part enjoy being here? But I think at the end of the day, it is about family value. It's about how you want to treat your customers and how you treat your vendors. So when you combine those three things, that really gives you a culture. No employee will ever be just a number. They are a family member with families. So, at the beginning of COVID, we had 170 families that we were supporting. And our 170 families were supporting other businesses and keeping them afloat. It's just a way of doing business. It's that same feel that we have for all of us. Just do your job and go a little extra, and we will all grow together. When it gets to you guys, sales teams, then let's make sure that we're doing it the new way. Because we're going to have...
The restructuring needed to happen because you couldn't find enough good people in every silo of the business to be successful. And that improved our operations a lot, and we were able to put the best people on a job or a situation, and it gave us a chance to grow from there.
It took us all of 2017 to probably get it dialed in. 18, we were perfecting things. We started to get some really good results in 19, and then last year, of course, with COVID. But the beauty of it is we were ready in 2020.
Even if he's never bought, when he's ready to translate that into a purchase, you just hit convert lead to prospect and complete order.
And that can be on the front computer too then?
Absolutely.
It is, on their desktops, this screen.
No, like I'm talking at the counter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It gets so fast, and coming through this center,
we've been working around
great.
this system, not knowing that that exists purely for what we've been working around.
Really?
Yeah, like it's spot on. It's awesome.
My husband said, you took us kicking and screaming into the 21st century. And that really was what I did from 2004 to 2016.
And that's what she expects of the people that work for her, is just to give it your all every single time. Does it have to be perfect? No. But did you give it 100%? That's all that really matters.
As the CEO, you're not supposed to be involved in the day-to-day trenches. You're supposed to see the bigger picture. And that's very difficult to do, to isolate yourself from that day-to-day and be the visionary that everybody needs and wants you to be.
As much as I didn't want to make this all about business, and I wanted to help tell Lynne's story, well, Lynne's story is the business. It is the buildings and how we've cut through the cracks to really make a name for ourselves. And that's not easy to do.
You do go through a lot of hardships, and you go through a lot of risks, and you do have to be a risk taker, and you have to be brave, and you have to be courageous, and she is all of that.
Working in a family business, who you are at work is the same person you are in your spare time. And who you are Monday to Friday bleeds into the person that you are on Saturday over a bottle of wine. And there's no escaping that. But it also gives you a tremendous support network. And it makes you very vulnerable, and you've got to be very, very open with all the realities of your life. But I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I like it here too. We should trade houses. She is my best friend. I can't think of anybody in the world I rely on more. She is always a phone call away, a visit away. She has helped me through ups, downs, all of it. She's been there.
My sister Kara, although isn't a part of the company, is kind of the glue that really puts us together. We get to have those dinners where we don't talk shop, where we just enjoy each other's company. And I think that's that yin-yang that you truly need, the balance of life. And we've created that, and it's special.
The thrill of the chase is the most exciting part of being in business. And I think it's why you'll see a lot of business people not retire. They'll keep going into their 70s and 80s because it's just such a sense of accomplishment when you've finished it. Whether it's closing a good sale, whether it's buying a new business, it doesn't really matter what the accomplishment is, but if it's intertwined with your business, it's just a rush. What makes a good door Components in construction, there's only two things that go into a door. You can screw a door together, you can staple it together. You can staple on your brick mold, you can ship it loose. You can package it or not. Now you're in my field. Do you want me to talk for an hour? Not really. Okay.
Ashlyn has decided that our family tradition is now going to be the pie in the face game. So every Christmas Eve, she brings it out and we fill the little thing with whipped cream and we all roll our eyes, but Nan being Nan, it's a family tradition that Ashlyn loves.
That's hard to do, just start sentences. I need a script. Where's the teleprompter thing? I'm good at reading.
It's a game that you pass around and you do the click, and it's got a hand, and if it hits your number, it smokes you in the face full of whipped cream. Who wants that? But Ashlyn thinks this is the best game ever, and so every Christmas Eve, she asks to play it. Mark, Jay, and I all roll our eyes and tried to find any excuse, really, to be gone. But Nan isn't letting that fly. This is her granddaughter, and we are playing this game. So sure enough, we play it.
Oh, I have all of them. I have my whole family to talk to. I talk to Mark 22 times a day. I talk to Jay about 50 times a day. And Ken, I rarely see.
Every year there's a giant trade show called the WRLA. Lynne loved that show. She always pushed herself to be unique.
Yes, in the Madero world, we kind of got known to be rule breakers, and it wasn't intentional. It was just we pushed the envelope. We've always been pushing the envelope. One year we put a fiberglass door in a giant block of ice to showcase that it was weatherproof. Another year we put that same fiberglass door in a customized fish tank that would accommodate the door and have the goldfish swimming around it. And the people who were in the neighboring booths would say, okay, do I need to bring earplugs? Like, what do we need to bring this year to safeguard ourselves against the Madero booth?
She always had that vision. I didn't see it back in the day. It was like, why are we doing this? Why are we going so crazy? We're a little company. And that was the problem. She didn't think so.